Hello, my name is Lynette Clement, and I am reading from the January 2021 issue of the Love Exquisite Magazine. And I'm reading from the section called For the Love of Relationships. So, the topic of this article is managing change. Welcome to 2021, the year that we should embrace, and we should also reflect on this past year and what we've learned, and how as a result from 2020 and the challenges that we had to face, we should have learned how to manage change. If you haven't, read the article. I give you some great suggestions. So, managing change. Unexpected things can happen suddenly in our lives without preparation, which is why it is important to be able to accept and manage change. Sometimes life hits us with unexpected blows, meaning that things that we did not plan for or expect can happen. So it is important to be able to adapt to the changes so that the new situation or circumstances does not defeat us or change us in a negative way. Change is not always easy to accept in the beginning of the initial transformation phase. The transformational phase, I should say. However, we must learn to adapt and modify existing plans because old plans are not always applicable to new situations. In any relationship, managing change is essential to growing through the changes. Some people do not like the word change. So I often refer to change as adapt, modify, evolve, transition, grow, mature. It all involves some type of change. So, but I'll use transformation as much as I can because I want everyone reading this or listening to the sound of my voice right now. I was saying reading because it's in the magazine as well. But if you are watching this video, you are listening to what I'm saying, and I want you to have an open mind and be receptive to what I am saying. This is an important message about how to manage change effectively. So, how you manage change will determine how happy or unhappy you will be with your life, because your life will change at some point. Change is inevitable, as well as your relationship. So, things will change within your relationship as well. So, you have to be able to adapt. That's important, as things might change. Well, I should say will change, because things will change over time. Managing change is about how you handle challenges or new and different things. So sometimes the change isn't a challenge. Sometimes it's just a new and different way of thinking, or a new and different way of doing things, or a new and different person, new and different situations. So if you struggle with how to manage change, below in the magazine, I offer you some suggestions. So, as we start to embark on this new year, make the journey of your life as pleasant for yourself as possible, as well as for your mate. So, try doing some of the following. First, we have to be ready to accept the changes that will take place. Um, so you have to be ready to accept that changes will be necessary for growth. So in order for you to grow, there has to be some evolution made. You cannot evolve without change and growth. So be prepared on how to handle those who will be resistant to change. So oftentimes when there is a change, there will always be some people who are resistant to change. So that person might be you. You might be the type of person that says, I'm not changing. Well, you may have to transform in order to adapt to the current climate, the current environment, your current situation, whatever that may be. So change again is a good thing, it's necessary for growth. So you also have to develop an effective communication strategy on how to communicate change processes. So this means that you will have to get to know the people or person and how he or she will be impacted by the change and how they might handle it. So you have to first know, okay, If this happens, how will this person receive this change? How will they deal with the change? How will they cope with the change? And how will they manage the change over time, over a period of time? So to answer those questions, you'll have to get to know the person. And then to be able to effectively communicate with the person, you have to understand their language, and you have to understand how to best communicate with them in a way where they will be more receptive to listening to what you have to say. So when I talk about effective communication, and I always say that effective communication is key, what I am saying that if you know what effective communication is not just communication. That word effective means that you know that it involves listening skills. It involves listening for understanding. Understanding means comprehension. So effective listening, effective comprehension, listening and understanding is effective communication. It has to do with your tone and your delivery, as well as what you are saying and how you're saying it, and how that person is interpreting the meaning behind what you say. This is why you listen for understanding as opposed to listen for a response. So that is effective communication, listening for understanding, which is comprehension, and you listen. And if you ask questions, because that's a part of communication as well. So if there's something that you don't understand, you ask questions for clarity. So those are all a part of effective communication. Applying effective listening skills, listening for understanding and not for reaction and response, as well as asking questions and getting feedback. That is effective communication. So you also have to determine how you will manage the change over time, long term. You also have to establish realistic expectations to implement the changes effectively. You have to be flexible enough to adapt to the changes. And then you also have to think about modifying the changes over time as needed, because sometimes plan A might not go the way that you want it to go. So you develop a plan B. This is how you manage your change. So now you shift your mindset from um, getting rid of plan A and now focusing on plan B. Now, let's say plan B doesn't work out. So what you have to do, you always have to be constantly open to modifying the plan so that you don't get stuck and stagnant in that same mindset, in that same mentality. There has to be a shift somewhere. So even if you have to go to plan D, the key is keep moving forward. That's the key. Keep moving forward until you get to your end goal. So don't stop when the plans don't work out the way that you want them to work out. Just rethink the strategy, meaning modify and change, and then manage the change over time, and then modify as needed. Oftentimes as a writer, writers usually know this, because as a writer you might write something and then you say, you change it, you edit it, you revise it, and then you rewrite it, and then it's an ongoing thing. So change is usually something that's constant and ongoing. So then you assess how the change process are working to determine if additional modifications need to be made. So as you implement the plan, you'll see how it's working. So you assess, how is this plan working? If it's not working, then we have to change some things. So what do we have to change? So then you have to analyze and evaluate where the change is needed, and then you have to say, okay, what's the strategy to implement the changes? You also have to get feedback from your partner about the effectiveness or ineffectiveness of the change processes, and consider what matters most to the both of you to effectively implement the changes and manage them over time. So that's important, because you might think that the plan is working, but then your mate might say, well, it's working to your advantage but not mine. So how do we balance the two, so that it's working for the both of us, whatever that change is, whatever that plan is. So you always want to have a balance. So don't be afraid to embrace new and different opportunities and new people. Networking is an awesome way to get access to resources that you might need as a part of your change, as a part of your transitional phase. So don't be afraid to confront the changes as well. that need to take place within your relationship. Don't be afraid to confront them. Everything is not an argument when you know how to effectively communicate. Everything is not up for debate when you know how to effectively communicate. So this is one way to assure that you will be happy and healthy in your relationships. So changes doesn't always mean throw in the towel. Changes doesn't always mean give up. Changes doesn't always mean walk away when things don't go as planned. This is where having an effective communication strategy can help you work through the transformation, work together towards the transformation and get you through that transformation, whatever that transformation might be. Change is what is innovative. Change is where innovation comes in. Change is what transformation is all about. Just keep in mind that the transformation should not change you to be a worse it should not change your behaviors to be from positive to negative. It shouldn't change you from being a good person to being a bad person. It shouldn't change you for the worse. It should change you for the better. It should always be for the better. It should be a change for and the improvement's sake, for the sake of improving something. So that's what you always want to do to grow, to evolve. That's what I mean by to transform and to change. So you have to think about it in terms of your relationship, because this is called for the love of your relationship section. When you think about change in your relationship or transformation in your relationship, you have to think about this. For two different people to coexist in an ever-changing environment, we must all learn how to adapt and manage the change or transformation effectively. Despite the challenges that we faced in 2020, let's embrace what's new for us in 2021, even if it causes us to be transformed, even if it causes us to change. No matter what, just make sure that it's a change or transformation or adaptation or modification, whatever word that you prefer, for the betterment of your relationship. So always do it for good and not evil. Always transform a caterpillar turns into a butterfly. It's a beautiful transformation. So make your change in the way that you manage it better, for the betterment of yourself and for the betterment of your relationship. So that is the article titled Managing Change in the For the Love of Relationships section in the January 2021 issue of the Love Exquisite Magazine. So manage change and don't be afraid of transforming into a better you. It's a new year. Get ready for a new and improved you. God bless you, and thank you for listening.